So I've said methods aren't really magic. They're just procedures that have a first parameter bound to the object. There are some things in Python that are a little bit more magical than regular methods, and we'll call them magic methods. Magic methods are like regular methods, except for they get called in special situations. The most magical of all the magic methods is the one called init. Init takes at least one parameter, that's the self object. Recall that that parameter is always bound to the object. It can take more parameters if we want, doesn't need to. And what's special about init is it's called to initialize the object. So let's add an init method to our restaurant class. And it's usually a good idea to place it at the top of the class. So we have 2 underscores on both sides. And we're going to take one parameter. And we'll take the parameter, the name. So that means init will have the object we're initializing as self and a name that's passed in. And all we'll do in the body of init is assign the name attribute to the value name. If we do this, this will ensure that all restaurants will have a name attribute. So where's the magic? The magic is that this method gets called when we create a new object of the class. So let me show you that in the interpreter. Now, before we define init, we could do this. Create a new restaurant, passing in no parameters, and that would create an instance of this type. Now we get an error, and the error we get is a type error that says init takes exactly 2 arguments, and we only give it 1. Well, it doesn't look like we give it any. It's getting 1 implicitly, which is the self object. But it expects 2. It expects self as well as a name. So let's give it a name. Now we didn't get an error, and we'll see that McDowell's has the name attribute defined as what we passed in. And I should emphasize, the only magic about init is that it gets called when we initialize a new object. Otherwise, it's just like a regular method. If we decided that a more appropriate name for our restaurant would be McD's Mansion of MetaMeat, well, we could call the init method, passing in that new string, perfectly okay, and now our name has changed to this value. When I said it's perfectly okay, I mean that it's correct. We don't get an error from the interpreter, but it's bad form to do this. If we want some of the code in init to be used other than initializing methods, well, we should define that as a separate method. It's confusing to call init.